What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Urban Platform Speaks. Make sure to like and subscribe as you tune into the channel, check out the content. And with that being said, man, I want to speak on Stephen A. Smith and his a discussion Stephen A. Smith had with Cam Newton. And Stephen A. Smith was going after independent content creators and people who talk about sports. And so to me, it just makes Stephen A. Smith seem like he's jealous and envious of people, independent people. He tried to make it seem like, like it's about the money, it's about the training, and also it's about the platform that he is on, right? Like that, all of those things legitimize, in his opinion, all of those things legitimize him. Like the fact that he worked for ESPN, that means that he's more legitimate. That means that his opinions matter more, than anybody else's opinion because he has a larger platform and he makes more money. But I think Stephen A. Smith is to a point in his career where he realizes that with certain people, he don't have credibility. Like his credibility is gone. He don't have any credibility. And I don't care how large his platform is. I don't care how much money he make. I think that right there really that gets under his skin. The fact that he wants to be accepted by certain people and certain communities and stuff like that, but he's not. And Stephen A. Smith probably hear the comments. He to read the comments and stuff like that. He knows, and it's not just hate. I don't think it's people hating. I think, like I said before, whenever people talk about sports, if you're talking about, like, if you have an opinion, a genuine opinion, then people don't mind going back and forth with you, debating your opinion, or if they agree, they're going to agree with your opinion. But when you say things just for, number one, for shock value, or you come and you say things because there is an agenda, then you lose credibility. And that's, I don't care how large his platform is or how much he get paid. Certain people do not see Stephen A. Smith, like his comments, as credible. They see him as fake, and rightfully so. But I want to play this audio because Stephen A. Smith, every time he talks about this, it just becomes obvious and apparent that he's telling on himself. So here we go.
Often than not, it's a challenge because people weren't even thinking about their audience. They were thinking about what they wanted to say and what they wanted to express. And in the process of y'all being authentic and true to yourself, you got to always remember that you still got to have an idea of what the audience wants to hear from you. It's like a headline that pops up in the pivot or 4th and 1 tackles it. What are you doing? You looking at what's trending. You look at what people talking about. Okay, so that's what they want to. That's what they want to hear about. Then you know that you have an idea of giving them what they want, and then most importantly, being yourself is so important because it's the one thing you can guarantee you will always do, which means that the audience can trust it. If you deviate.
All right, so he talk about being yourself and having the trust of the audience, and that's his biggest problem. He's not allowed to, because he's on somebody else's program. He's not allowed to be himself. Early in his career, Stephen A. Smith said something that got him fired. And if it wasn't for Skip Bayless throwing him a life raft, who knows if he would even be back on TV. So that incident right there taught Stephen A. Smith that to watch what you say. Like you don't have free reign to say anything you want to say. And ever since then, Stephen A. Smith has been saying, his saying has been, my first thing when I get up in the morning is to see how much money I can make for my bosses, and then see how much of that I can get. And so when you look at it like that, or when Stephen A. Smith looks at it like that, then he's telling you that he's not worried about like what's trending. He probably don't even look at what's trending. He just go out there and toe the company line. Like whatever they need Stephen A. Smith to say, he will say it. And he'll do it. Whoever they need Stephen A. Smith to go after, he'll go after him. Whoever they need Stephen A. Smith to defend, he'll defend. And you see it, like he'll defend Jerry Jones for making questionable uh trades and and business deals concerning the Cowboys. He defended the guy who what's the guy name who's the MMA who owns MMA, and he assaulted his wife in public. He defended him. Josh Giddey, he said that when Josh Giddey court had some allegations against him, he was like, well, "That's not enough information out there for us to comment." But yet, when another kid from the Houston Rockets had some false allegations, Stephen A. Smith came out and threw him under the bus. And so people see through that. And Stephen A. Smith know that people see through that. And the fact that when you have independent content creators who think for themselves and who just giving their honest opinion, because we, like small content creators, we don't have sponsors. So if we think that LeBron James is the GOAT, then we are free to say that. And because we don't have an agenda. Like, I'm not getting paid. If I thought he was a GOAT, I'm not getting paid to say LeBron is the GOAT. I'm not getting paid to say anybody, like, you can just be yourself. And if people agree with you, then they'll let you know. If they disagree with you, then you have an opportunity to debate these people or have some type of discussion back and forth. That's, like, I don't want everybody on who tunes into my channel to be able to agree with me. That's not it. I don't have an agenda. It don't really matter to me who the GOAT is, because I mean, we talking about somebody else's accomplishments, right? So it's just entertainment. Just like if we were in a barbershop, right? And Stephen A. Smith was in a barbershop, and some of the wild claims that he made, like some of the stuff that he say on TV, if you was in a barbershop and he was talking to you, like, people, I know we would cut the conversation because he's just saying stuff for shock value. And we don't even we want somebody who, we want to hear from people who have legitimate, like, you have a legitimate stance or something that you thought about, even if you agree with somebody else, and it may sound like you are, just repeating what they say, but you still need to have some points and back up to and explain, like, why do you feel the way you feel, or why do you think the way you think. And this guy, he just want people to agree with what he says because he's on a larger platform, he has more money, and just because he says so. And the good thing about these smaller platforms is people not buying that, and he don't have any credibility across the board. In my opinion, I think even though a lot of people disagree with the other guy, what's his name, Jason Whitlock, you can still kind of, you don't agree with everything Jason Whitlock say, but you can go back and forth with him, right? But with Stephen A. Smith, he will just try to. I mean, it's blatantly obvious that this guy is, in my opinion, he's not a genuine person. He fake. So let me play some more of Stephen A. Smith's comments.
From being authentic, then you're not going to be able to sustain that lie over a long period of time. It's not going to work.
Right.
And I've always known that. And last but not least, in my position, I've been very, very helpful and blessed, because I tell people all the time, no, I watch NFL as a spectator. I watch NFL as a reporter. I don't know NFL unless it's for y'all.
All right, so look, now he's fake and phony right there. So he's telling Ryan Clark, I think it was Ryan Clark and Cam Newton, I don't know NFL football, or I don't know unless it's through y'all, right? Early in his, like, he never felt like that, and I believe now he don't feel like that, but he's saying like that. He's saying that right now because that is the like that's right now the talking point. Whereas though NFL football players or professional athletes feel like people who haven't played the sport, they shouldn't have an opinion. So he's trying to legitimize that line of thinking by saying that, but he never really felt like that. I don't believe that Stephen A. Smith feel like that right now, right? And then so people see through that. People have receipts. We have heard him say different about because at first athletes used to say, well, you only a writer, you only a reporter, so you don't know. And it's true that professional athletes do have a different perspective than people who report on it or people who spectate, right? But then people who spectate and people who report also have a view. They also, because you have like, all right, so it's like if you're in the frame, like I heard a guy say this one time, slow, like if you're in the frame, you can't see everything that's outside of the frame. It's the person that's looking at the frame that has a broader view, right? So they have a different perspective because they're looking at it from a different angle. But you're in the frame, and all you can see is what is inside that frame, and that's the person that's performing on the field, the person that is performing on the court. So the views are different. That's not to like even like when people play sports, right? And you get to listen to like inside their huddles and or they explain like the different plays and stuff like that. Of course, we don't know about things like that because we we're not in those huddles, so we're not privy to that information. We're not privy to that environment. So yeah, they can give us insight on things like that, right? But I do think I just think that people have the right to their opinion. And so, but Stephen A. Smith, like I said, he's just envious of people who are free to give their own opinion, and they're not tied down to a network, and they have to say certain things and certain things you can't say. Like, I mean, I think basically it just comes down to like when it comes down to saying things, or even if you're not on a platform like that, you still want to be respectful of people, right? So you don't need to have a large platform or some boss from ESPN policing you like that. People police themselves. Like if you're somewhere and somebody say something disrespectful, then people will police it. You know what I mean? They'll handle that themselves. We don't need ESPN to tell you like what you can say to about women or what you can say about people that are gay. Sometimes you do get people that are rude and disrespectful, but either you just remove yourself from that situation. If you're talking to somebody who's rude and disrespectful to a certain segment, then you just remove yourself from that situation, and you choose not to conversate with that person. That's all you got to do. So Stephen A. Smith, man, he just, like I said, I think he's envious of people who get to say what they want to say, and so he's doing to regular content, independent content, people what athletes try to do to him. But people not going to allow, just like they couldn't do it to him, and he's not going to be able to criticize us and say, and say that what we have to say or what we have to add is not relevant, right? And so that's my take on it. Make sure to like and subscribe. Don't forget to leave a comment, and I'll check you all out in the next video. Peace.